Hello, everybody. This is the Ex-jehovah Witness tape on the holidays. It's very important to me because, like I said, I'm going back and I'm seeing how it's different then than it is now as far as the holidays are concerned, and that's a big deal. The big deal of holidays. Um, like for instance, I did one on this is just something like introduction. I did a Animar violin on Halloween, and it was such a dramatic thing for me, as you know, because I was a Jehovah Witness before, and you know how dramatic the holidays are. Not so much, it's just dramatic because if you grew up in the Jehovah Witnesses, it's something that's a big deal mentally and psychologically, I can say also. Um, so I had to pray. I mean, I prayed. I mean, I know I could do it on Halloween, but it's just this. I had to even, I just recently wrote a description on the Halloween one because I went to work also. It's not just, and I had some friends who just don't like Halloween at all. But my meaning of Halloween, I'm just talking about this one piece I did on Halloween. The only thing, when I did it, I was like praying. I was like, can I do this, And the only thing I did was, I said, I had to question myself, especially on the Animar, the music that I'm doing. It's your deepest feelings about things. And the things I thought about was, what did it mean to me? The only thing it means to me is, seeing my friends dress up at work, parties that they had when I was in school. The ones that I couldn't go to, I had to sit outside in the hallway. On TV, when I see the Halloween parties, the scary movies. That's another one, and trick or treating, and that's it. And that's all I really wrote that Halloween piece when I did on the violin. But the reason why I mentioned that is because how psychological every holiday is that we didn't celebrate our whole life. And I was going back to when you grow up as a Jehovah's Witness, you just don't celebrate anything. I mean, it's just something that you get used to where you just it's just something that you don't do and you feel is bad, I guess. I mean, I don't know if we thought it was bad because I'm going back and checking things and I didn't see where it was bad. I mean, well, it was. I guess it can't be bad. It's just something that we didn't do at all. It became bad. The holidays became bad when we left the Jehovah's Witnesses, and then we had to be involved in the um, the holidays. So I guess I can say that. Um, I guess I can say I thought more about the holidays when I left the Jehovah's Witnesses because I was able to celebrate them. But the holidays, I didn't celebrate them like I have to do so many things at once because I always have to fold these clothes and I have to, and then I have updates that are coming on. The extra witness is going to be on an update also, but I have to do this artwork while I'm doing the update because I don't have time for so many things. But anyway, so what I'm saying is that, so when I came out of Jehovah's Witnesses, I noticed one time I was in France, and I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. I was already disfellowshipped, and my friend wanted to go into a church, and I couldn't go into the church. So I mean, nothing was holding me back, but it's that psychological feeling that it was wrong. I don't know. It was just so strange now that I think about it. And he goes like, you don't want to go into the church? I go, no, I don't want to go into the church. I mean, it was really how can I say psychological is, I guess it would be psychological because it was something that was nothing to do with anything. It was just from the upbringing, and I felt it was really bad to go into a church. Now I do. But before holidays, that was the hardest thing for me to do, was to go into a church and see a church as, just a church. And that took a long time. It just took a long time. I mean, like I said, I used 8 years. I think 8 years to where I felt like really comfortable going into a church. Yeah, maybe like 8 years. Um, then, not just that. So now Christmas. Christmas took a long time. I mean, my friends would celebrate Christmas, and I didn't feel anything. You know what I just didn't feel anything. Everybody would talk about Christmas. So that must have taken another 8 years. I don't know. It took a long time for me to really get used to Christmas. And my brother was used to Christmas, and I would go over his house sometime, and he was disfellowship before I was, and that probably why um, it was all right for him. But he also gave me, when I moved close to his house, he gave me a birthday party, and that was my first birthday party with my nieces, who all were associated with the Jehovah Witnesses when they were young. So then but I know that God, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, I think I'm going to do something because it's just something special. I don't know. I want to say this thing, but I can't really say it. It was something that really, really happened to me during my first during my first birthday. Because I got the birthday presents from my brother. I must have got cards or something. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. But I felt very deeply about the fact that God cared about my birthday. I'm sure you all have a relationship that's different than the Jehovah Witnesses about um, about um, about how God deals with each and every one of us differently. And I'm almost sure it made me happy to know that my birthday was something that I could celebrate. And then after that, I became more used to it. And then at jobs, they would, give me a birthday cake sometimes where I was working. But it's still, I think that one I got used to more. Birthday parties. Christmas took a long time. I mean, I had Christmas birthdays. I had Christmas parties and things like that, but I didn't feel right. And like I said, I couldn't go into a church. But it took a long, long time. But now I pretty much really appreciate um, the Christmas. And a lot of people say, I know, oh, he wasn't born on that day, or no, he wasn't born on that day. But you can only be off by 365 days in a year, which is not bad. I mean, if you think about it. I mean, if you're off, you can't be off by that much because it's only 365 days in a year. Think about it, And the whole calendar is Jesus. So, I mean, just to have a beautiful day to celebrate, that everybody can celebrate, and I think it's in a nice place, in the winter and things like that. As far as Santa Claus is concerned, I always believed in him. I don't know, I really just believed in him, I have a YouTube about um things that happen to me as far as Christmas is concerned. I'm not gonna say them because I already said them. It's like in my earlier tapes, but and also about my father, who wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, who who I guess he wanted me to believe in Santa Claus, and I always believe in Santa Claus, and I still believe in Santa Claus. It's just it's hard for me to I it's like almost like you believe in not Superman or Spider-Man. It's a little bit stronger than that, but I do like the idea of Santa Claus, and that's it for the holidays. There's one other point that I wanted to bring out because the holidays, like I said, it just takes time to get used to. I can't really say in a Jehovah's Witness because we never celebrated anything, so that means it didn't mean anything. But when I got out, that's another thing that helps me out as far as going back, because now I can see that I wasn't really affected by not having the holidays. I was more affected after I left the Jehovah's Witnesses, to where I was able to, but I couldn't psychologically. That psychological thing is really a strong thing. Like I said, even with Halloween, in order to do that piece, I had to say, well, why? How can I do this and how can I do that? Birthdays, all these things were psychologically, something was wrong psychologically. It's just how something can have an effect on you. But what I want to say, as far as going back and coming back now, now I see myself as one person, and I think everybody should go through and think about their life as a Jehovah's Witness and how it relates to them now, because now I can see that the holidays didn't have anything to do with me when I was younger, you know what I mean, when I was a Jehovah's Witness. But my effect on the holidays, it affected me after I left the Jehovah's Witnesses. During, I didn't really have any effect whatsoever. I didn't really care about it. There's one other point for this video I want to express, and I talked about it before, and it was using God's name or Jehovah. Okay, it's a pretty big point because I keep working on that on that point, and what I came across was the fact that during our baptism, the questions, and I mentioned this to you, I found the questions that we were asked before we got baptized. And it didn't mean anything because they use a language that doesn't make any sense. In the way they formed it, but it's funny because they didn't use God. I think a lot of people don't realize, but God is an active force in our lives nowadays. I mean, He's an active force in my life. Hopefully He's an active force in your life too. And I think there's some things they can't do. But during the baptism, the questions I noticed were Jehovah, but wasn't God. Okay. I don't know if they do it nowadays. And then they use the organization. Okay. And the big point I want to put out is that it didn't mean anything. I mean, like, the sentence, the meaning of what they asked you, it didn't mean anything as far as making sense, okay? I mean, it meant something as far as just they are concerned, but it doesn't mean anything to, like, in language, like, everybody has to understand language, and they don't, and that's one thing Jehovah's Witnesses do, and that gives us a hard time, is the fact that you can make your own language, but the language is so boxed in to where you can't relate it to anything else. But I know in like Dance Without Music, I have to make up a lot of terms in a language, like a different new language for new things. But I relate it to, I tell you why and how, and why I'm using this word, why I'm using that word. But as Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't tell you a lot of things. So what I've learned from it is that when you use a name can be used for so many things. Like if you use Jehovah, you can say Jehovah God. You can use him as God. You can use him as anything secret, or you can use them as a name for your religion, as they do. Because like the first thing I learned when I was a kid in a Jehovah's Witness was how to sell the Watchtower and the Wake. I didn't really learn anything about God, as the most important thing. But my mother did make us say, from her upbringing, she made us say the Lord's Evening, Our Father and Art in Heaven prayer. I don't know where she got it from, but we had to say that before we went to sleep. But I didn't want to go there, but I went out, and then I need to go back. As far as this Jehovah's Witness thing is concerned, okay, you can use the names for anything, and that's the secret thing, is you don't know what they're saying when they say Jehovah. But when they're talking about the questions that we had when I got baptized, I'm almost sure it was the questions that I looked up. It didn't have anything to do with God, okay? But it had probably a secret meaning, and their Jehovah didn't have anything to do with God. I mean, I know I use the term Jehovah too sometimes when I'm saying, because it's like inculcated in my mind that I could say Jehovah, but I definitely mean God. But then I can say Jehovah because I did it when I lived with my brother. And you'll see it in one of the videos. It's a long time ago when I was this fellowship. I had to move with my brother, and we had this problem. Not this problem, but something happened. I'm not going to explain it. But I used the term Jehovah, and it didn't have anything to do with God. Like, it had to do with when they say Jehovah, okay? They didn't say Jehovah God. They say Jehovah, and that's what you say. You say Jehovah, okay? And I heard that a lot of times in different things that happen, in different stories. They would say Jehovah, and then this would happen, So anyway, but when I'm in a world, as they would say, you just know that God is there. You know He's active in your life. And you can say a prayer anytime. In the Jehovah's Witnesses, I was afraid to say prayer. I didn't want God to see me. That's just my feeling. So those are the points I want to bring out. The most important one is, like I said, the most important one was about the one with Jehovah's name. And like I said, it was I mentioned it a little, but very quickly. But when I was younger and I was growing up and I was a Jehovah's Witness, I didn't know what it meant. So that's another meaning. Jehovah's Witness was just a religion. It was not explained to me. I couldn't understand what everything entailed. So that Jehovah meant something different too. So that's another reason why you don't want to, for you Jehovah's Witnesses are listening, you could use a name for so many things. Does he want to be called, did he want to be called that name before? Does he still want to be called that name now? Things change. We change. He doesn't change, but we change. And because of the way we change, he has to deal with us differently. Is that name? You have to use that name. That's the thing about it. Is another thing with Jehovah's Witnesses, you have to use that name. So those are the points I wanted to make. Anyway, thank you for your views. Thanks for coming by. That's what I want to say. The most important. And it's always nice talking with y'all. I'm having an update coming. It's going to be long. What's the update on the channel, on everything I'm doing in the channel. I'm doing new things because I need to get views, and I need to expand my channel because I've been doing it so long. So I decided to expand it. I mean, try and make it bigger, you know, with some talents that I have, because like I have the dance without music, which I can't do because if you understand it, I'm doing these things. Anyway, that's not, it doesn't go in this video. If you want to hear about the other things, you can listen to the updates. Thank you for joining me, and I hope everybody's doing fine. And Thanksgiving is coming, another holiday. Oh, Thanksgiving we didn't never have a problem with. I think we really celebrated Thanksgiving because, like I said, when I was Jehovah's Witness, everybody got off and everybody got a turkey. So we ended up celebrating Thanksgiving anyway, even though Thanksgiving is every day. We already know that. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Have a good one. Thanks.